Hello everyone, this is Dino Chris from Prehistoric Facts. This is Prehistoric Facts special episode number 143. We're going to be talking about a plant-eating dinosaur, and that plant-eating dinosaur is Massospondylus, and this is an artist rendition of what Massospondylus possibly looked like. Some information about it, Massospondylus. Massospondylus means longer vertebrae, length 13 to 20 feet or 4 to 6 meters, height 5 feet or 1.5 meters, weight 2,200 pounds, lived 200 to 183 million years ago in the early Jurassic period, found in southern Africa, and was described by Sir Richard Owen in 1854. The guy that coined phrased the word dinosaur actually got to describe Massospondylus, which I think that's pretty cool. So here in the upper left corner, you actually see here's the map of Africa, and in the southern countries down here of Africa, those are pretty much where Massospondylus is going to be found, like South Africa, Zimbabwe, those types of areas. Here's the size chart. Now there is a possibility that there is a specimen out there that is a bit taller than what is described on this chart, but it's actually pretty much pretty close. And then on the bottom here, in a rendition of the Massospondylus skeleton incorporated by Scott Hartman. And you see here, majority of the skeleton is mostly found. I'm pretty sure there are still some bones missing, like at the end of the tail, or maybe the gastralia, because I do not remember if gastralia have been found on Massospondylus, but I think it's actually a really nice art rendition of the skeleton, and I think this is a pretty good job. And Scott Hartman does a very nice job of doing this kind of stuff. You can find his work online; it's pretty amazing. More information about Massospondylus. Massospondylus belongs to the group of dinosaurs Sauropodomorph, and in the clade it belongs to its own clade, Massospondylidae, and so that actually shows that it's named basically its own clade. And there's a couple of other sauropodomorphs that are in the same clade as in the Massospondylidae family. And like most of the sauropodomorphs, they're the ancestors to the sauropods. So once you actually branch off from the sauropodomorphs, you get the actual sauropods, and so the sauropodas. And so that's where you actually start to see that the similarities with the sauropodomorphs and the sauropodas. And so that's where you actually see some similarities, but also there's some differences. And speaking of differences, Massospondylus can be bipedal, can walk on two legs if it had to, but it's mostly going to walk on all four limbs. So it will be mostly a quadruped, but it could actually rear up on its hind legs to actually reach up to to actually eat the trees that are a little bit higher in branches that it can't get to with it basically just being on four legs. And Massospondylus, like all sauropodomorphs, does have a big thumb claw, and that thumb claw could be used for digging, like to probably dig up like some water during the dry season, maybe dig up some roots, and of course that claw could be used for defense. So it will rear up on its back legs, kind of wave its arms around, show off that thumb claw, and to the smaller predators to say stay, kind of like saying stay away from me, or otherwise you get whacked. But that claw is mostly going to be used for digging, but it actually be used for defense on the second hand. And of course, Massospondylus, excuse me, like all sauropodomorphs, is a herbivore. And so eating plants, has a long neck with a small head, just like all sauropods do. And it has a very powerful tail for balance and for defense. The tail's going to be used for defense to actually distract the predator, not really kill it. So if you whack the predator, it'll just be a distraction, so that way it could actually get away. Because the tail's only going to be used mostly once or twice, and then it's got to get out of there. Because if the predator does stick around, it's going to have to really defend itself pretty good. But the tail's mostly going to be for balance. Because what is a tail used for most dinosaurs? Mostly for balance. The environment in where Massospondylus actually lived, it would be warm and humid. There would be a lot of ferns, cycads, trees, and of course, like throughout the time of the Mesozoic era, there were no grass, but there wasn't any flowers during the time of the Jurassic period. Flowers actually kind of came during the Cretaceous period, dominated during the Cretaceous period, whereas they weren't totally around in the early Jurassic period. So no grass, no flowers during the time of Massospondylus. And of course, there were other types of animals around too, like insects, amphibians, reptiles, small early mammals, and of course, dinosaurs. I tried to find any predators that were actually found on the same time frame as Massospondylus. I could not find any, so if anybody out there could actually let me know in the comment section below this video to let me know that of any predatory animals that have been around in the same rock formation, have been found in the same rock formation as Massospondylus. So let me know in the comments. Of course, the extinction of Massospondylus is mostly going to be due to climate change. So that's pretty much what is mostly going to cause a lot of extinctions is climate change. So at that time, Pangea in the early Jurassic was breaking up, and so so you actually have the birth of the Atlantic Ocean, and of course North America and Laurasia were actually breaking apart from the southern continents, forming Laurasia. And then you actually have the southern continents, which are basically South America, Africa, Antarctica, Australia, and India, becoming Gondwana land. And so that's where you actually have a huge drastic change will be taking place for these animals that actually relied on Pangea a little bit more. And so the early Jurassic plants were disappearing, and so once those Jurassic plants changed, Massospondylus could not actually eat them. It would probably be very poisonous to them, or otherwise they can't digest them, and so pretty much they would pretty much starve to death. And that's pretty much what could be cause for the extinction. And of course, larger herbivores were actually taking their place, and around 180 million years ago, that's where we actually start to see the very first sauropods. So the very first sauropods were kind of actually getting the sauropodomorphs out a little bit more, and so that kind of actually happened. And of course, bigger predators were actually starting to show up, and that's the evolutionary arms race. Is that once the herbivores get larger, the predators have to get larger, but the predators are not going to get as big as the herbivores, because first and foremost, the herbivores are going to be bigger than the carnivores, and so that's how it always is in the evolutionary arms race. And so those bigger predators probably could have eaten Massospondylus a lot easier, whereas the other predators during Massospondylus' time probably actually couldn't actually take it down very easily, and so that's why the healthy adults tend to actually survive a little bit more. And of course, once the predators got larger, then the adult Massospondylus were in trouble, but mostly due to climate change. So here's a map of 195 million years ago, and in southern Africa, right around here, is where Massospondylus is mostly found. There are probably some relatives to South America, and even Antarctica and India. So there's a possibility there's more sauropodomorphs out there. The next episode will actually be on October 17th, 2019. There'll be a Q&A episode. So if you got any questions about dinosaurs or any other prehistoric life, feel free to email me at dinochrist71@gmail.com, or just go on my Facebook page, Prehistoric Facts with Dino Chris. Like the page, you actually post your questions on the wall or in the comment section. And also for you YouTubers out there, feel free to give the videos a like, and also you can subscribe to the channel. That helps out the channel a lot. And also you can send your questions in the comment section. I read them all, and I'll try to read your YouTube names as best as I can, because sometimes there's some wacky YouTube names out there, and so I'll try to make sure that I can get it right. And I read all your questions, and that's very important. But also keep your questions short to the point. You could also follow me on Twitter at CSGRALL. That's my Twitter page. I post pretty cool stuff on there. Also, take care of the people around you. Notice if you're younger people out there, to make sure to listen to your parents, your teachers, and your guardians. It's the best motivation you could have a good education. It's very important to have good education. With a good education, you get a good job in the future. That's it for now, and I'll see you guys next time.